For practicing journalists, it calls for an attitudinal shift in embracing new technologies and adapting to by learning additional skills mentioned earlier. Practicing journalists have to show flexibility and adaptability to survive in the technology-driven integrated newsroom reality. If these two key attributes are forsaken by journalists, soon they would be forced to leave the profession. Indeed, several journalists unable to adapt to the new technologically driven work ecology have been forced to abandon their positions and seek alternative work. Consequently, it has been noticed that average age of journalists has been decreasing as the young are much more keen in engaging with ever-emerging information technologies. What does it mean for aspiring students then? Aspiring journalism students have to approach the profession of journalism in a multidimensional way to cultivate the ability for working across different platforms, be it print, broadcast or a web. With an open mind, they have to develop the following set of skills. 1. Command over a language and ability to express any issue in simple language. 2. Train oneself on research and updated about the multidimensional aspect of any issue. 3. To speak into the camera for making presentation on any particular issue. 4. To write and edit text or copy. 5. Learn the use of visual imagery and as well as video editing. Not just headlines or short form updates, journalists now has to engage in feature writing and documentary making. In other words, a journalist has to be good both in short form updates as well as long form narrative of news and information. One has to be efficient not just in writing but also in anchoring. So what are the job prospects because of the integrated newsroom scenario? Where journalists are required to multitask for reporting on various platforms, prospects for jobs in journalism are increasingly becoming rare. Number 1. On the contrary, we have the strange phenomena where journalism schools are opening up for lucrative earnings. Such a contradiction only underpins the necessity of aspiring journalists to become adept in learning various communication tools and skills for the multitasking that the process of integrated newsroom demands. So let's take some time to devote to the emerging areas for journalists to learn. In addition to training for acquiring multi-skills in text, sound and image, budding journalists should look to become a coder. In other words, acquire the ability to use programming language for getting a computer to behave and elicit an intelligent response. The other new area that aspiring journalists have to learn is analytics. Now, what is analytics? It is described as data mining for discovering and communicating meaningful patterns from a given set of data. Let's go now to further elements of integrated newsroom. Another important feature of the integrated newsroom is the interactivity quotient. Digital enabled newsrooms and platforms including social media demand that news organizations keep a dedicated team for interacting with its audience to make itself relevant. The news audience would have several queries and observations regarding various news posts. On the other side, news organizations through its web portal seeks out feedback from its followers and readers, embedded towards the end of each post. News organizations also solicit the opinion of its audience, readers on various issues by conducting online polls. The seamless characteristics of this technology is also reflected in the way we receive news and information. No longer conventional newspaper or a news channel is required to be subscribed or switched on. Through app-based application on a smartphone, handsets, news can be read, watched and live streamed. According to a report brought out by FICCI in 2018, television news content was syndicated to online platforms on two basic themes. One was OTT apps as well as non-media apps. Interestingly, to cite an example, Business Television's English business news content managed more than double across its online platforms than its 40,000 hours of television viewership in January 2019, which is this year. To conclude, Integrated Newsroom has already arrived in India with legacy news organization both from the conventional print and broadcast news adopting the technology, infrastructure and skill sets. The interactive quotient that comes with digital technology bodes well for the citizen to actively participate in deciding news content as well as shape its nature. We already have programs on television news channels which is called citizens reporting. However, there are certain pitfalls that a corporate news organization would indulge in, thus putting the onus on Indian citizen to be ever more vigilant about the practices of news media industry. I hope you have liked this episode, which attempted to take you through the concept of integrated newsroom, what this concept is introduced to the practice of news gathering and dissemination, and how aspiring journalists should look forward to working in this new changing scenario of news journalism, as well as the skills that would be required that you have to cultivate. I hope you would be coming back to this episode in case you have missed out on any important element.